there's something so ambiguous and vague, but also magical, but also sometimes very sharp, called life that is going on. And that's sort of at this very moment, even as I'm talking, that is what is supposedly happening. I'm supposedly living, and you are supposedly living also. And many of us, we have been living and interacting quite a long time, some more than maybe close to 40 years. In one way, the 40 years is very, very short. And on the other hand, it's long. But there are a lot of young people here who probably have never understood life before a smartphone. But you will also, you may also reach to a stage where you will fall into the category of dinosaurs. Obviously, I'm speaking more to the younger generation, those who are new especially. Obviously, I'm a Buddhist. I'm sure someone must have told you this, and, just or the prop helps. Buddhism have gone through a lot. I'm not saying that Buddhism has gone through a lot in the sense of kind of negative, not necessarily. It had its glory days, along with many other so-called, philosophies, maybe not the right word, but anyway, along with, many other philosophical system or scientific system, I would say, Buddhism had its glory day, its heyday. But for some strange reason, it has now fallen into the category of religion. And then the idea of religion itself has gone through a lot. I'm sure many, so-called atheist, realist, scientists, they have looked at religion as something archaic and outdated. But as we know very well, the religion have never stopped playing its roles, at times very viciously. I have received many questions for this gathering. I'm going to try my best to answer, and not all, but some of them. I will try to, and I have to say, the answer I'm giving you are really, I try my best to extract from the words of the Buddha, and also all my masters, spiritual masters. So nothing that will come out from my mouth I can claim something original. I will try to articulate, to make it, palatable to the modern people. But that is something that the Buddhists for 2,500 years they have done. So it's nothing new also. We are here talk about embracing the change. And even though it sounds very, something very current, but actually embracing the change is perhaps the most earliest teachings of the Buddha. In fact, for the Buddha, it was something even more simple than embracing the change. It's really knowing that change is a truth. I don't know whether it makes sense if I say probably the only thing that does not change is the change itself. So the Buddha's teaching of change or impermanence or anicca, the classic term, this teaching I will try to relate to some of what we think is today's issue. So I've made, this morning I was making a list. What is it that we may be interested or it's an issue for us today? So there are a few, but first of all, I don't think we have time, and some of it maybe you're not even interested. For instance, are you really interested in the truth? You may say you are, but actually nobody is. Basically, we go to schools so that we become quite good at telling lies, not only to others, but mainly to yourself. Even just a simple interaction with in our life. We don't really think about the truth. Well, if you are interested, we can come back to this, but for now, I will skip the truth. I mean, for the Buddhists, that's the most important. But, being the Buddhist is not the most important also. Okay, so what do we have? Meaning of meaning. It would be nice if you really pay some attention to that, but that I also doubt you are interested. So let's, for now, skip that. Values, culture. Yeah, culture. It's just one of the strangest things. Okay, now, I know these are probably something that you are interested. Just, yes. Modern people love justice. It's something. It's justice. Just is. Maybe we can talk about that. That maybe you are interested. I don't know. And the other one, maybe you may be not interested, but I think I will force you to be interested. Self-esteem. Okay. Just so that we come back to our main subject. Tonight we are going to have a conversation about embracing the change, but within the context of, let's say, self-esteem. I guess so. Self-esteem, feeling good for oneself. Yeah, this is an important one. Then, those who are young, probably there's creativity is important. Now that is, and I think talking about creativity within the context of anicca, impermanence. I'm not only talking about the creativity in, like putting this marigold in front of me and the music and not only this, of course, but, creativity is in like dealing with yourself. Let's say you are in the middle of nowhere, just yourself, alone, nobody bothering you. Still need to be creative in being with yourself. I don't know, me, I'm now belonging to the museum, that age. I just, but I have some young people, friends, and I feel sometimes they're not so creative in being with themselves. Then maybe another thing that we can talk about is critical thinking, especially the generation who really cherishes individualism. I think, critical thinking is important. But actually, with that, maybe it's important to also contemplate on what do we mean by individual. And related to this, a very important one, and I'm sure everybody is interested, consciously or unconsciously, freedom. Okay, so let's start from freedom. We all want to be free. The freedom is, the very idea of freedom is also used by politicians, but not just politicians, even by Buddhists. But most of you, are you interested in nirvana, which is freedom? I don't think so. You are not interested in that kind of freedom. Okay, so I think even just for the freedom itself, I think there's so many elements to achieve to really experience the freedom. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit of my Buddhist thing here. I have to, I'm a Buddhist, so you have to sort of, you have to understand that. For the Buddhists, they think, Buddhists think that as long as you have an agenda, you are never really free. I mean, if you want to be praised, if you don't want to be criticized, or if you just want to be sort of alone also. So even a simple agenda, that always opens the door for, chain, bondage, binding, whatever you want to call it. Okay, but this time, yes, of course, very much rooted to the Buddhist idea, but also judging from how we, the modern people, function. There's an art. Okay, I'm going to talk about art now. There's an art of how to make decisions. This is a difficult one. If you don't know how to decide, make sort of a decision, if you don't have that, if you're not good at coming to a conclusion, a decision, you will suffer with something called confidence. And if you are suffering with a confidence, freedom is very far. And wow, the consumer society, you and me, the whole consumer society, modern society thrives on making the consumer indecisive. So there's everything out there that's going to really help you not make decisions. So this is how we forget to embrace change. Sorry, it has taken so long just to define the, title, Embracing the Change. It's, there's just so much out there that's always making you indecisive. And it's getting more and more. Still, at least in Taiwan, and by the way, I'm not being judgmental here, but you can think I am, but it's okay. But I am actually not. This time when I arrived Taipei, I sat next to few young people. They were on the way to, I think, Japan. And somehow they talked to me and I talked to them, and we talked about all the gender stuff. And this is true. So, but as I arrive in the airport, part of me kind of think maybe there will be no distinctions between gents' toilet and ladies' toilet in Taipei. Because I think Taipei only has 3 genders still, right? Like a gent, ladies, and in between. There are a lot of nations that has now exceeding like 80, 90 genders. And again, I'm not being critical towards this. This is freedom, right? Freedom. Of course, I have the freedom. Everybody has the freedom. And let's be actually, this is the lie that I was talking about. Oh, you can do whatever you like. That's the biggest lie on earth. Of course not. But anyway, that's another subject. So most of the time, basically what I'm saying is most of us, we haven't come to a conclusion about ourselves. Maybe some gross ones. I think, I'm quite sure I'm a man. But I'm not talking about that level. I'm talking about, just there's so many indecisive. What am I? What is the purpose? My goal? What should I do? All that, etc. Sort of indecision or not concluding kind of aspects of life. And I'm afraid that it's just going to get more complicated from now on. It's just going to get more complicated. So we, the human beings, we really need to really learn to embrace, live with changes. Because if we don't, I think we will be just making our life complicated for no reason. Just after the COVID, because during the COVID we were not allowed to go, out as much as we used to. So suddenly the whole world we have managed to make the whole information come to us. So I think we have, our indecision and our non-concluding factor has gotten even more fast. And if you think about it, they are all so vague. And as I said right at the beginning, what did I say? Vague. Yes, at times kind of magical, but most of the time very sharp and ambiguous. There's the only thing that we can sort of call ourselves that is continuing is the cognizance. We have this kind of a constant knowing, sort of this consciousness. Okay, let's call it consciousness. But sadly, we are not paying enough attention to this thing. With this thing that is probably the only really, one thing that is constant is maybe not the right word, but that is, that is there, vivid. So basically forgetting to live consciously. Since we are not living consciously, we are also not living authentically. Most of the time, almost all the time, we live, not authentic, fake, fabricated. Camouflage. Anyway, maybe I'm making this again as maybe I'm making this unnecessarily too complicated. But freedom is important for you. is for me, it's important. When I was having a lunch with some of my friends in India recently, there were some parents. We were having lunch. We talked a long time. First, about an hour, we talked about how social media is really ruining their life and especially their kids. Not only like distracting them from studies and homework, but, even safety point of view. Parents actually worry because there are cyber abuse, so on and so forth. After about an hour, conversation suddenly changed. Next, about an hour, these people spent 1 hour, maybe almost 1 hour, another hour condemning how North Korea doesn't have the freedom of social media. Yes, we love our freedom, but I don't know, what is this freedom? Just asking, just curious, what is this freedom people don't have? Most of the time, people are quite happy with what is being spoon-fed, the definition of freedom. Okay. Critical thinking within the context of embracing the change. I myself, I've always been a big, advocate to what we call rational thinking, logical thinking. That's what in Buddhism we study logic a lot. I've never really, somehow the aspect that the Buddhist study of logic is that logic is just a means, that it is not the end. That somehow we end up sort of, skipping or ignoring or not noticing. The critical thinking is, I guess, it's important because we think that being sober is important. And we also think that being normal is important. Again, we don't really know what normal means. We have, of course, some very, very vague definition of normal. Like, my son is 21 years old, still doesn't have a job. That's not normal, like that. Or, stuff like this. So we have some very general way of defining what is normal. But anyway, we human beings wants to be normal for many reasons. One of the most important reasons why we want to be normal is because we don't want to be lonely, right? We want to socialize. We want to have friends, families, get married. We don't want to be rejected. We want to be invited. So being normal is important, I guess. So in order to be normal, we need to use this tool. There are many tools we use, but one of the cherished and cherished and valued tool is critical thinking. That's why you send your children to school so that they will learn to be good at critical thinking. Of course, higher education, highest the better. But you should now realize, actually, those people who actually went to like Ivy League, like Harvard, they are the least, they really don't have the actual critical thinking. They are the most biased. 63 years of my life as a Buddhist, I have been directly or indirectly looked at as those naive, superstitious, those people who, those who lack critical thinking. They call people like me, a fanatic, religious fanatic. You should now know. Actually, who is the most, fanatical? Liberal democratic people. the New York Times readers are the most fanatical. They really believe in that religion. It is a religion anyway, it just doesn't matter. Their church, they have their church, it of course it doesn't look like a temple. It doesn't have any of the Buddha stuff. They have their church, they have their own priest, they have their whatever, but it is just so what is critical thinking now? Actually, right now I would almost safely say that so-called religious people, including Christians, Islam, Judaism, and of course Buddhism, the religious people are much more open-minded. Kind of, even, that there's a lot of Buddhists who say, oh, I want to study science, Buddhism and science, Buddhism and neuroscience, Buddhism and physics. So there's a lot of, not necessarily willingly maybe, but they feel that they need to. They feel, we don't want to be, seen as a backward, so they, Buddhists are also very busy studying science and all that. You know what I mean? The religious people are trying to be open-minded about the, modern science and all that. Whereas, from the other side, secularists, scientists, whatever, they don't even think like, like Taoist concept like Wu Wei. That's kind of, this is interesting. Let's do a really, really wholehearted research. They don't. There's a lot of monks. I know a lot of monks and nuns who are studying science and who are actually really, really working with the science. But I'm yet to meet a student or a professor from MIT who really wants to, do a 3 years retreat. That is not a good critical thinking. That is pride and prejudice. That is just, MIT is just a monastery. And those professors are just gurus. MIT students are just those devotees, whatever the guru says. So, yes. Embracing the change. Is the modern people really embracing the change? I don't think so. I don't know, modern people, I think I feel that they've become even more backward. They've become basically savages from the Stone Age that has a smartphone. That's dangerous. Okay. Enough with critical thinking. Oh, already 1 hour. Okay. So, what do you think? I don't know which one we should choose. I would really like to talk about culture, but it's really big, so let's skip this one. Because actually culture is so important. It's something so ridiculous, but it's something so important. Let's just talk about identity, and then I will go through some of the questions, and then I think, you should just go and have a better, good time in the, weekend, right? Identity. Let's talk about identity. Now here, I'm kind of hopeful, but I don't know, maybe I will not live until what I am hoping will actually materialize in the world. I'm hopeful because of the artificial intelligence revolution. My hopefulness is really something to do with, I feel that artificial intelligence is really, really going to make people lose their identity. I can just imagine after 40 years, maybe 30 years, 40 years, there will be a conference, organized by G7 or BRICS summit or something. That's emergency conference. Like, because we are losing our identity. Because, like nurses, no more nurses, because your phone does it. I have even asked my chat GPT to write a praise to Longchen Pa, and did it quite good job. I was quite impressed. But the next moment, I was so disgusted with the chat GPT because I asked, write a praise to Putin. And then it says, I'm sorry, as something chat GPT, we are not, allowed to do something immoral, unethical. Immediately I thought, okay, chat GPT is coming from San Diego. Chat GPT is not supposed to have preference, right? But anyway, already in Japan, there are Zen priests that are robot priest. And in 30 years, if the interest of Buddha Dharma is still alive in Taiwan like today, really, I feel very, very moved that, so many people come here. This is year 2024. I'm not Taylor Swift? What's her name? I'm not her. And the contents of what I'm discussing is got nothing to do with how to do pedicure, manicure, whatever. You understand that? Nothing. It's just, even at this age, today, Friday the 25th October, year 2024, there is this much interest in matters such as change, anicca. That is something. Let's hope that this still exists after 40 years. But after 40 years, there won't be any priest or a monk or a teacher. There will be, robot Rinpoche. Right now, the identity, Khenpo, identity, Lama, identity, Rinpoche, identity, what? Pawang, right? His Holiness. All those become completely meaningless after 40 years. Completely meaningless. So anyway, I believe that in about 40 years, there will be an emergency conference. And because there is a major identity crisis among the human beings. And wow, how old I will be if I live after 40 years. Oh gosh, I don't know.
65.
Really? Okay. If I'm there, I will be cheekily. I want to, I will come with a Heart Sutra. Finally, people will understand what Buddha said. No nose, no eyes, no this, no that, no that. 2,500 years ago. Finally, I would be saying, yes, let's embrace the change. But this time, let's embrace the truth that there is no really identity is an illusion. So this identity issue, I don't know, it's a very important for me. I'm very curious about identity. I'm just, as I look at the world today, all the nationalists, why are there so many nationalists, mushrooming? Not just nationalists, even liberals. To me, they're equal. It's an identity. It's like, oh, I'm a parrot. I am a peacock. It's a bit like that. And I'm, if you, why don't you read your local newspaper tomorrow and really think in this, the world with the identity crisis. And by the way, this is not only on a very sort of abstract level. It actually penetrates with our day-to-day living too. Married or single, identity. And, okay, married, let's say. Wow, there is a big clash. Even the phenomenon called married. Because men, or not just marriage, actually, relationship. Oh, yeah, that's it. Actually, I was like, I thought one of them is missing. So it's this relationship. That's an important one, isn't it? A relationship. At least about 20 years ago, they used to have a lot of sex, but now it is not even that. It's a big part of the relationship is already, not happening. But yes, the relationship, wow, that is just such an amazing phenomenon, isn't it? Yeah. Especially in the modern day. And especially also among certain civilizations like yours. Sometimes I talk to my Chinese friends. Do you realize that you are using a language that has been used for 2,000 years, 3,000 years maybe? What does that mean? It means that you still have a certain culture, certain, nuances that is still belong to the 2,000, 3,000 years ago. So because of that, we see a lot, with our relationship. We have so much things like, we all want to have a relationship that is like a Tang dynasty kind of perfection. Tang dynasty, the marriage during the Tang dynasty kind of okay, let's say it's a perfection. But during the Tang dynasty, they don't have WhatsApp. During the Tang dynasty, your husband or your wife is not looking at or texting someone else other than you, right? So, phenomena of relationship, which is very, very, which is connected to identity. By the way, I have no answer here. I'm not here to really give you formula. In one way, I have nothing to give you. But I think talking about this, even just for 1 hour, I think it's quite important. I don't think we need to talk about every day, but once in a blue moon, if we talk about this, it might make our life more, a better angle, more variety of angle. So there were many questions regarding like how modern people care about self-worth, which creates a lot of anxiety, insecurity, how to deal with it. Personally, I think talking like this, I should help. Yes, of course. You can also read Vajrachyadika Sutra. It has a blessing. Of course, it was the Buddha. For those Buddhists, if you can accept that, fantastic. But many times, the reason why we don't know how to deal with insecurity and anxiety is because we are not facing. We usually deny, we sugarcoat, we camouflage, we patch up. But there are some really sweet questions. But again, my assessment that these are sweet questions is just because we are human beings. Of course, there's the truth, but that doesn't mean that we always live with the truth. There's questions like how to deal with the emotions of missing someone. I'm not going to tell you, this someone is emptiness, emptiness is someone is not other than emptiness is not other than someone. I'm not going to tell you that, even though that is the real answer. Since it's a very sweet question, I also want to tell you something. My answer will be more emotional, okay? You should consider yourself very lucky that you have somebody you are missing. I'm serious. There's so many people I have met. They have nobody they have nobody to even miss. They want to miss someone, but they don't have. Such is their conditioning. Such is their, what we Buddhists call karma. Those war-torn countries, those children, those babies, whose parents, grandparents all are killed. Let's say they are going to live another, 40, 50 years. I don't know how they will think when they see another baby or a kid who has actually parents that they can miss. Okay, some really good questions here. How to deal with the feeling of loneliness arise when practicing the Dharma, especially in the middle of meditation practice. Here, I am really going to tell you a Buddhist answer. The Buddhist answer will be, actually, we are always alone. That is a fact. You and I can pretend that we share this marigold or a very steamy hot pot. But in reality, what you see, I never see. But we can always pretend, oh yeah, I can see that. Yeah, you also see the same thing. We can say that, but it's not really true. And I think accepting that probably is a good thing. So, may you always be lonely, you the Dharma practitioner. Very good question. When we face an unexpected, intimate relationship, we struggle with a lack of courage what to do. You know, when the karmic wind blows, nothing much you can do. Glide with a wave like a surfer. If whoever the other object or other person that you are, there's an unexpected intimate relationship brewing. Don't let thoughts like, maybe I should smell my armpit, stop you. Just be comfortable with yourself. Huh? Just be comfortable with yourself. Well, it's happening. Probably this is the reason the armpit smell, the intimate relationship is happening. Okay. Love and morality, which one is more important? Now, that's a complicated one. Because, okay, again, here I will be Buddhist here because I think it's easier for me to answer as a Buddhist. Both love and morality, I think your attitude should be to both love and morality. Your attitude should be like your attitude with your neighbors. You have to live with it because, you are there. But, cautious, I think, both. Because both morality and, love, yeah, they could bring good things, but they could entangle you, I think. Unless you are talking about like karuna kind of love, like a compassion, then that's different. But I don't think this is the question related to this. Now, there's a really good one. How to deal with the change of losing loved ones, like parents, like family. Okay, again, a Buddhist answer. Many, many answers for that. One is you never really lose them because you are connected. So connected. Especially a family or, the link is so strong. You just have to remember that it is possible that you may eat their legs or fry them, By doing, you create more links. So you're not really missing this, instead of missing, actually you get entangled. So as a Buddhist, I would say, do something good and really dedicate to this. So maybe make use of that link. Okay, important question. How do we face life, aging, sickness, and death? Talk about it. we are not talking enough. Of course we are talking enough, like, oh, I'm aging, let's go to South Korea. Of course, that way we talk. But I'm saying, real talk. Okay, I'm going to die one of these days, no matter how many times I go to South Korea. And sickness, yes, that's bound to happen because we are what the Madhyamikan, the great Mahayana masters say, Jiksolata. Jiksolata means we are basically, or our attitude towards, we have this view, it's such a beautiful, word, it's a profound word, we are looking at bunch of transitory, fading, sagging, shifting things, and we think they are always the same thing. That's how stupid we have that kind of view. Is it possible to let go of attachment of the body? Very much so. But that does not necessarily mean that, you let it rot. In fact, the opposite. You can really pamper it with vitamins, with moisturizer, with a massage, all of that. But be ready to let it go. Always, have that mindfulness. Anyway, it's just a shifting, fading, sagging, So it's a wrong view to think that it's one and permanent, right? Okay, how do we deal with working so hard but not getting the result as expected? This one requires another, conversation. It's a really good one. But for now, okay, this is the question. How do we deal with working so hard but not getting the result as expected? Okay, that's the question. Okay, my short answer for now, because we don't have much time, is highlight the word as expected. I think that will solve your problem.
这样可能就可以解答你的问题。
How to face unforeseeable changes and fear of unbearable future. I will quote Jigme, the great master. 100 things that what you wish will not come true, but 1,000 things that you dare not wish can come true. Wow, another very important one. How do young people cope with stress? But actually not only young people, both old people and young people. How do we cope with the stress? Short answer. Sometimes think about, identity, all the things that I talked about earlier. The reason why I'm asking you to do that is because many times you are being unreasonable to yourself. I mean, of course, I can always really work so hard to look like Angelina Jolie. It's going to make me really stressed. So, I don't know, maybe I should educate myself, have another, another target. Not that target is lesser or anything. Okay, this is an important question, but I have a little bit of hard to chew answer for you. The question is, I'm about to graduate and feeling lost and no direction. What is life's most important purpose? Okay, you are asking me, a Buddhist. For a Buddhist, this question is very funny. For a Buddhist, the question is a bit like, let's say you are sleeping and then you are dreaming, and then you are asking person, what's the purpose of my dreaming? So it's a little hard to chew. Basically what I'm saying is, actually the purpose is not only overly hyped, but purpose is a purpose. So, the purpose of life is probably the first ever capitalist marketing strategy. But I have a sympathy with this, whoever asked this question. This is the sad part about the current world, I think, our world. There are few things that we can fix if we pay some attention, but we are not fixing. I don't know. What I'm saying is, okay, this question that you ask, you are asking this question because you went to school. I'm running school, beginning to have got a bigger project of school in Thailand. But part of me, I really think education is so dangerous. So let's say you go to a very, very small backward village school. The purpose, the image of the purpose that that someone has imposed on you is not that harmful, I think. When you go and if you go to MIT, yes, the purpose has now hit it up. And then chasing that purpose is like me trying to become Angelina Jolie. Okay, anyway, I still will answer something pragmatic today. So, what is your purpose of this life? Learn to be comfortable with yourself. If you found yourself having an extra head, just accept it. This is not that hard to do, actually. If there's few techniques, such as not referring too much, like definitely don't read brochure of the South Korean hospitals. Definitely don't read. This is something you can do. Please. Okay, purpose of your life, don't refer too much. Do not compare. Comparing and competition really is a trick that is imposing by the capitalist. If Dharma is so good, how come so many Buddhists still have lots of attachment? That's like asking, if democracy is so good, how come there is Donald Trump? Dharma is Dharma, Buddhists are human beings. Okay, so with this, we have finished questions. As I said, this was, I just, when there was a request, I wanted to just have a conversation. This is the current state of my thinking. I don't know, next year if we meet, I may speak something totally different. But this is how I think. And because of that, my thinking that there's only one man that is correct in the entire world and in the entire my life, and it's called Shakyamuni. Everything what he said is complete. Everything what he said really is still true. So for me, if there is a question, what is the purpose of my life? And so my purpose of life is basically to live with what he said. And actually, it really gives me some sort of a joy. Something close to that is what the Japanese call it monono aware. There's something so beautiful about transient. There's something so beautiful about things that are not perfect. Sometimes the perfection, especially labored perfection, is so scary. Okay. Really, I hope that you have a good life. Think about, sometimes look inward. Especially invest some time and energy exploring this thing called mind. You have that. I hope so. And this is something this thing called mind, you cannot sort of eject. If you don't want your small finger, you can just cut it. But mind, you cannot say, oh, can you not come this weekend? No, you cannot. And this mind is something This is where Buddhism is so... The Buddhists have really spent hours and months and years and pages of research on this. If you want to be a real modern person, please explore mind. If you are not thinking about if you are not thinking about mind, I think you are just a, replicant in the Blade Runner, those robot, android, right. Basically, if you're not thinking about your mind, just a OS, operating system. What's wrong being that? Everything but you want to have freedom, identity, you won't get it because the operator is somewhere. Okay, that's it. Thank you.